Hi everybody and welcome to another FM22 one-off rebuild where in the space of one video we're going to cover about 5 seasons worth of transfers and changes to a club to try and take a team back to a certain level. Today we've got a big challenge on our hands. Everton, who in real life find themselves in a potential relegation battle, have just sacked their manager. I think they're going to appoint Frank Lampard. All signs are pointing to that. Not only are they struggling in the Premier League, they haven't had any silverware for a long time, no European competitions for a long time, and even worse for most Everton fans, I'm sure, is currently the other Merseyside club, the other big Merseyside club, Liverpool, are, and I think even Everton fans would agree, miles above what Everton are doing right now. So we need to try and take Everton back to glory, give ourselves 5 years, see what we can do. Can we win a Premier League? Can we win some silverware? Can we win a Champions League if we get that far? Who knows? So without further ado, it's going to be quite a long video, so let's waste no more time and get right into it. So here we are at Everton, a club that are obviously having relegation struggles in real life, but in Football Manager, based purely on their squad, the game is suggesting that they should be coming about 17th, on par with Crystal Palace and worse off than teams like Burnley, Southampton, Brighton. It's going to be a very tough challenge, but before we get into it, I'd just like to ask you guys if you could be absolute legends. It would really mean a lot to me. These videos take a lot of effort. If you could just hit that like button, make it turn blue, I'd very much appreciate it, and it helps the videos do even better in the YouTube algorithm. So if you want to do that, that's awesome. Feel free to comment. I'm happy to get back to every single comment I get, so let me know what you'd like to see different in these rebuilds, what you enjoyed, or just let me know what you had for breakfast if you want to help the algorithm, and subscribe if you haven't already. We've just hit 6,000 subscribers, so a big thank you to you guys for your help in getting to that milestone, but we're going to keep pushing. And to anyone who is interested as well, there's also a join button near the subscribe button if you want to support the channel financially in any kind of way. But there we go, that's everything we need to talk about. So Everton, it's going to be a pretty tough challenge, and looking at the transfer budgets we're getting in this first season, I don't think we're doing too much. One player I would actually quite like to have is Moise Kean, who has an arranged transfer away to go back to Juventus, I believe, isn't it? Yeah, so Juventus for £24 million. Feel like we're going to regret that, and that's only in 2023 as well, so I don't know if we've already spent that money, if we're going to get that money back in 2023. I don't know how that's going to work, but in terms of a transfer budget, there's not much we're going to be able to do to this squad, but at least next season we're getting a minimum of £26 million. They have bought in some players that I know have done okay in real life, like Demarai Gray, and I think Townsend's done okay as well, but realistically, I think that's where Everton's biggest downfall has been in recent years. They've had good quality managers. They had that good season with Ancelotti. Obviously, he did then go and leave them, but I figured with the squad they had, they could have really built on that. And it seems like they took a backward step in the transfer market. So it's something we're going to have to look to change, I suppose, but it can't really be this year because there's not going to be too much to do transfer-wise because you haven't got enough money to do so. But players that I think are going to be of potential note to the team, it's absolutely chucking it down outside, by the way, so if anyone can hear the rain, I do apologise. But obviously Richarlison, Lucas Digne is still here because it's not the January transfer update yet. Allen, Calvert-Lewin's hopefully going to be pretty useful. Decore's good as well, but him and Allen both fairly aging. I mean, quite a lot of this squad is on the older side, so that might be something we have to change. We've got some good potential players in the likes of Jared Branthwaite. We've got Ben Godfrey, Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison and Digne again, but obviously most of them have reached pretty much whatever potential they're going to get to. So there's some good players here, but I don't know if there's too much we can do transfer-wise just yet. Let's have a look at the squad and the squad depth. So I am going for, I'll just show you that quickly. I'm going for a 4-3-3 Gegenpress. That's the preset I clicked when I started up the save, but I don't think I'm going to play it exactly like this. I think we'll have an inverted winger probably on this side. I don't know who that'll be, probably Gray at this point, Demarai Gray. So again, the team isn't that great, so any kind of success in this first season I'd be very happy with. I usually have a Mezzala on support, box to box, that's fine. Probably a central defender on defend here, and I think that's pretty much everything I'm going to do. Might tweak that, but that's pretty much all I'm going to go with, and we've got to try and find a way to make a squad with this. And if I do go to the squad depth section, which I was about to show you, I think the biggest problem for Everton, yes, they've got some players that you might say aren't good enough quality, but the likes of Townsend, Iwobi, Gray can still contribute, but I'm thinking particularly right back is where we're going to struggle, because every player that's good at right back is a centre back pretty much, or John Joe Kenny, who I'm not sure he's really the future of our right back position. Obviously they've got Seamus Coleman as well, but he's very old, so I am going to try and dip into the loan market and maybe bring in a right back, but I'm not sure we're going to do anything much more than that in the transfer window. So there's definitely a job to be done here, but it might not be season one where we get to do it. We'll just have to hope that we get like a mid-table finish with this tactic and hope that takes us over the line. But facilities are very good. Obviously, we are a Premier League team, which is brilliant. It says media prediction 11th here, but it said on the actual media prediction we were 17th, so maybe that's an issue with the skin. But in terms of what we're trying to live up to here at Everton in the 5 years, I spoke to a friend of the channel who is also an Everton fan in TJ Mounty, and he mentioned that he would class in 5 years' time Everton's success as picking up some silverware, but also getting back to some kind of level of Europe, whether it's Europa League or Champions League. Didn't mention Conference League, because we're not going to talk about that, but anything like that, he would class as brilliant success in 5 years. But according to the history books, Everton should be doing a lot better than how they're doing now, because they've won consistent league titles pretty much every decade or two, and the last one being in 1987, and then it's kind of stopped. They won 2 league titles in the space of 3 years there, but since then, nothing much. They've won the European Cup Winners' Cup in their only European triumph, won the Sky Bet Championship, won the FA Cup a fair few times, but that's their last piece of real silverware, coming back in 1995 with an FA Cup win, which might sound fairly recent, but you've got to remember that's now 27 years ago, 28 years ago, something like that. So we definitely need to step that up, bring some silverware in the club, and try and bring some kind of European football back to Goodison Park. So big challenge on our hands. I'm not going to waste too much time here. I'll quickly move you over to the end of the transfer window, see if we did manage to get rid of anyone or bring anyone in, because there is some deadwood here. I'm just not sure what we're going to be able to do with it just yet. But let's have a look and see what we did in the transfer market. Okay, so I mentioned I was going to try and do a little bit of business, and we did. We got one outgoing in Cenk Tosun, going to Marseille for £3 million, a 30-year-old Turkish striker. We've got Rondon, we've got Calvert-Lewin, we've got Richarlison who can play up front too. His contract was running down as well, and I just thought, I'm not going to use this guy at all. I may as well get rid of him. But we have made a pretty significant signing, I would say, in the right back area. It's where we identified a problem being, and I looked for players that could suit our system of having wing back, someone going forward, and Yusuf Attal of, I think it was Nice, I could be wrong, yes, Nice. We brought him in from Nice on a loan, but the loan does have an option, a mandatory option, should I say, so not really an option in any sense of the word, but we have a mandatory fee of £8.5 million at the end of the season. So that will be a chunk of cash that comes out at the end of the season, because we are going to have to pay for it. Overall though, I think Attal is a great bit of business. 8.5 million won't seem like too much either for a player that's way better than anything we've got currently if we do compare him to Seamus Coleman, which is a bit unfair because Coleman is particularly old. We've got more pace on him, more vision, better attacking play, better technical play. Yes, not so good in some of the areas that develop as you get older as a player, of course, but in terms of the system that we're using, I think the Algerian will definitely suit it, and he's our only real signing coming in. Tosun out, Attal in, that's our first season's worth of transfers. Let's see how this gets on, and we can build from there after one season. So I'll check in with you at the end of the 2021-2022 season. Have we won anything? Are we still in the Premier League? I would really hope so. So let's go check out how we've done. Okay, here we are, the end of our first season as Everton manager, and it has gone far better than I could ever have expected. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're a big club with great facilities and a fairly decent squad, but I did not think in our first year we would be finishing 4th in the Premier League. So we have qualified for Champions League football in our first year, which 1 is great for Everton as a club, but 2 is going to bring in so much money to us and is going to help us towards our aims of trying to win some kind of European silverware, get up there in the Premier League rankings, because even though we did finish 4th, you will notice there's a big gap between us and our Merseyside rivals, Liverpool, who are also the title winners. It's a 31-point difference, which is pretty crazy. They lost only 1 game all season, and I imagine we lost to them twice, did we? We lost to them away, and we got 1 draw against them. So we didn't lose both Merseyside derbies. There's something for you. But yeah, we've done very well. 4th place finish. One thing that is very interesting, which I noticed after looking at this for a good 5 minutes, was how close it was in this 4th place spot. So consider Man U, Man City and Liverpool so far away from everyone else. And it was actually quite a close run title challenge. But then there's us, Chelsea, Arsenal and West Ham with 1 point between us all for that Champions League spot. And we seem to have nicked it on goal difference, winning more games than all of them, drawing way less than them, but also losing more than any of them did. We've actually lost as many as the 8th place team did, so we probably do need to improve that. But overall, it's been a pretty good season, particularly for a certain few players. Lucas Digne, what a star he is at left back. I don't think we'll ever need to sign another left back as long as he isn't like 35 years old, because he is very good. 7.5 average match rating near enough for his first season in the Premier League with us, at least with us as manager. Obviously, he has been at Everton for a long time. Calvert-Lewin, though, has been brilliant too up front for us, scoring 20 goals in 36 appearances, being one of the top goal scorers in the league, and that is very beneficial to us. On top of that, we've got Atal playing well. We've got Ben Godfrey doing a great job at centre-back, who, as a defender with plenty of potential, England international, hopefully we can kind of build around him because his physicals are absolutely mental. He might be a bit small, but I think that's fine. I think we can definitely work with him as one of our centre-back options. So we've done pretty well overall. In terms of our goal scorers, we have got Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, not Moise Kean, Decore getting 9, Rondon getting 8, Iwobi with 8, Gordon with 3, Delph with 2, and that's pretty much all of our goal scorers at the club. You can see here the players I forced into the lineup while simulating. I wanted to make sure that these players were in the team because I felt they were going to be key to how our side played. But other than that, we left it quite open. The midfield, you will see, had no one in, so I was just letting the assistant manager choose whoever he wanted to use in that role. But it's definitely been a good year. No silverware just yet. Carabao Cup 4th round exits to Leicester and an FA Cup exit in the quarter-final to Liverpool, which I'm sure didn't go down too well with the fan base because we are only on a B rating considering we got Champions League football. We've been given a pretty hefty transfer budget to use as well, £36 million with a £100,000 wage budget. I can definitely work with that. We can definitely improve our squad, start selling some of the deadwood because we're past that first season transfer window where you can't shift anyone on because all these clubs have already done their business, so we'll be okay. So let's have a look at the transfers that we made in Season 2 to try and bring Everton back to being a top tier club. Okay, here we are. We've got quite a lot of our business done as soon as possible. We had a pretty hefty chunk of outgoings and incomings too. They're not all listed here. Some are going to be on the other page, but we'll start with the earlier sales that we made. So we did get rid of Tosin, as you already know. We then followed that up by selling Michael Keane to Leicester for £15.5 million. He played 23 times for us last year, did pretty well, but I'll take that money for a player who I'm not too keen on and is getting old in age. I didn't really want to use him at centre-back, and I think we got a better option in his position for a very similar price. I then followed that up by not being able to turn down an offer for Alex Iwobi for £26.5 million from Leeds. I assume this is their Rafinha replacement. I imagine he's now left them and they've gone and signed Iwobi from us. It's a loss actually from what they paid on him from Arsenal, but as you can see, he never really did too great for him. And then for us, again, not too special at all. So I don't mind him leaving the club for that much money. I can definitely reinvest that in a much better way. And yeah, they were the first outgoings that we did have. And then if we look at our signings from Atar, which of course you saw, there's some director of football ones, which I imagine were just to boost up the under-23s. But we did sign a new wide player in Kiro Despadov. If you watched the Saint Etienne rebuild we did, one of the first ones I ever did on FM21. This guy was an absolute gem and was unbelievable. The 25-year-old Bulgarian starts off at Ludogorets, I believe, in Bulgaria, where he usually does very, very well. I kept my eye on him. I've brought him in. I think he's brilliant in both wing positions and he can play up front. Great attributes. I think he'll help us along the way as a good squad player. Maybe he'll do even more than that depending on how we use him. But I think he's a big pickup for £6 million. Then we brought in Abdullah Kamir Amor, who is a Turkish winger. He's probably going to play on the other side to Despadov. We got both of them for the price of Iwobi, which I think is great business. He's a young Turkish player with plenty of room to grow. I've never used him before. I'm not sure what he's going to be like. He joins us from Trabzonspor in the Turkish divisions. Had a good season for them last year, so hopefully he follows it up with a good season for us. And then our Michael Keane replacement for pretty much the exact same amount, a couple £1 million extra from Galatasaray. We bring in the Danish centre-back, Victor Nelson. He's a good physical centre-back. I do worry that we've got two fairly small centre-backs, but he can play out the back. He can also do the straight-up defending role too. Some great mental attributes and had a good season last time out for Galatasaray in the Turkish divisions. So we're not really shopping in the top 5 leagues just yet. We went for them players, and I think as a bit of business to bring in Atal, Despadov, Amor and Nelson, and to lose Keane, Iwobi and Tosin, we've definitely improved the squad in that way. But we kept going. We had more money to spend. And obviously, I want to try and rebuild this club up as quick as possible. So we did do a few more deals. First of all, we brought in a director of football transfer. Then another one from me, but this was actually a free deal on a player coming to the end of his contract. This is a player who I use in my Wolfsburg save, which if you haven't checked it out, feel free to check it out. But we brought him in. It's Florian Grealish. I believe he starts off at Hoffenheim. Yes, he does. Had a decent season for them. I've brought him in as cover in our midfield. The Austrian is 26 years old. Valued pretty highly considering we got him for free. So I'm happy with what he can do. He can play at the base of the midfield and also in that central midfield role. And I'm sure we'll get some good results out of him. We then splashed £10 million on Yassine Adli from AC Milan. He's a French international who has plenty of potential and has done in Football Manager for a good number of years. He's going to come into our team as one of our most important midfielders, a midfielder who looks to go forward. I think he's going to be new Mezzala, and he's got plenty of potential too. 21 years old, the Frenchman, great attributes coming in from Milan, as I did mention, but he was on loan at Bordeaux where he started his career. Milan made a little bit of a profit on him without having to do too much, but he was also at PSG years before that. So I think we've got a good player on our hands, good caliber, good quality. Already he's coming in as one of our best central midfielders, but do bear in mind how weak our central midfield is, because Ben Godfrey, our centre-back, is our second best central midfielder before Adley came in. So it's definitely somewhere we had to do work on. We then made the Attal transfer permanent, as we already knew, and then from Rangers for £15 million, we've brought in a Finnish international, Glenn Kamara. He's got plenty of experience on the international stage, is in the prime years of his career, can play a variety of midfield roles, great physically, great mentally, and good technicals too. Very good technicals, actually. I think he's going to be a cheeky little player for us. I'm not sure whether he'll play every single game, but as an option who can play all around the pitch, I think it's a great pickup, and Rangers have done very well on a £50,000 transfer to then make so much money off him, but he has been doing well in the Scottish divisions, and I think he's a very good player for us to have signed. And then we had a couple more sales, nothing too interesting, but Andros Townsend has left for £3.6 million to Montpellier, and Andre Gomez, who of course has injury issues, was getting on in age and wasn't playing much at all last year, has left to join Freiburg for about £1 million. So overall, we spent a little bit more than we made in transfer fees, I believe, but it's not too much of a difference. Finances are looking okay. We're not in too much debt or anything like that. Transfer budget has been used up, and it means our squad is looking a little bit better. If we do go to the squad depth and then best 11 in this formation, we can see it's looking a lot nicer now. We've got Jordan Pickford, Attal, Godfrey, Nelson, Digne, Grealish, Adley, Glenn Kamara, Despadov, Richarlison, and Calvert-Lewin. So we've really changed this team around already. At least 5 or 6 of these players I've bought in. So the rebuild is definitely underway in the second season. So let's see if that improves our positioning at all, whether the first season was a bit of luck and we're going to fall short of it. I don't know. Let's go and see how we do in our second season as Everton boss. Okay, here we are, the end of our second season, and it's got even better for us here as Everton manager. A 79-point season finish is not bad by any shape of the imagination, but we will look at the Premier League in more detail in a second. Let's check out the cup competitions first. Knocked out of the Carabao Cup 4th round, the FA Cup quarter-final, and then the Europa League. We got all the way to the semi-final where we lost to Chelsea, but how did we get in the Europa League? Of course, it came from us being knocked out of the Champions League group stage. We didn't really expect to do too well. In a group with PSG and Sevilla, you could argue maybe we could have beat Sevilla, but it looks like they've stormed it, coming top of the group. And them two teams, yeah, I suppose they're going to be Champions League knockout round teams. We're not just yet. We'll take 5 points, class it as experience, and we'll move on. We've got European football again, Champions League football again next year, so we've done well there. In terms of our Europa League run, we did get knocked out by Chelsea, but we beat Villarreal pretty comfortably in the quarterfinals. Did we beat anyone else interesting? Red Bull Salzburg we knocked out. We also knocked out Union Berlin, so we've done all right for ourselves on the Europa League stage. And overall, it's been a good season, topped off by a 3rd place finish in the Premier League on 79 points, finishing higher than Chelsea, Tottenham, Leicester, Arsenal, Manchester City as well. Not too far off Manchester United this time, a lot less losses, a couple more draws, but more wins. Did we lose to Liverpool again? We did. Did we draw? Does that mean we beat Liverpool once? Have we? I think we've got 1 win against Liverpool here. I could be wrong, but that's good news at least. We'll take that. We got a win against Liverpool. I assume we're one of their losses. We beat them 2-1. So we've done well there in that sense. We finally beat Liverpool after a long time of waiting. But I think this is going to be quite hard to top. I'm not expecting it's going to be very easy, if it will ever do it, to catch up to a team like Liverpool and Man U. But we're keeping up with them. We're at least improving our league position year on year, improving our points tally, which is great news considering the Premier League is only going to get harder and harder as the simulation goes on. But in terms of if our new signings played well or anything like that, we can see Calvert-Lewin is still the best player at the club, or at least one of them, with 40 goals this year across all competitions. Richarlison again doing well for us. Adley getting 15 goals and doing well. Plenty of good players all across the pitch. Attal again, another good performer. Digne, Godfrey, Pickford, Gabanin, who I haven't really spoke about. Gabanin? I don't know how you pronounce his name. Yeah, he's played quite a few times, the Ivorian, and has looked pretty decent. How much we're going to use him though in the future, I don't know, because I could definitely get some decent money out of him, I would have thought. And I'm not sure he's the future of our midfield. We need higher quality players than that, I would say. But yeah, overall, great first season. Despadov chipping in as well. Maybe not the best start to his Everton career, but 11 assists is not too shabby at all on the wing, and a much better improvement over Iwobi, I would say anyway. But yeah, I think we've done pretty well in the second year, very well actually. 2 years in, 2 years of Champions League football. Let's try and keep it up in the third season and maybe even top it by trying to win some silverware. So we need to bring in some real quality into the squad and maybe get rid of some of these deadwood players. Okay, we're here. The third season of transfers is underway, 3 years into our 5-year rebuild. We've got to start making some moves now towards winning some trophies. Don't forget, if you are enjoying the video, feel free to hit the like button. It would really mean a lot to me, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. There's a good chunk of you guys who watch these who aren't subscribed, and if you watch it, why not hit the subscribe button? You can change your mind at any point and it doesn't cost you anything to do so, and it does mean a lot to me when you click it. But in terms of transfers, we've gone pretty hard into the transfer market yet again. We'll start off with the transfers that would have classed as this season's, next to the Glenn Kamaras and all of them. So the ones that we got done fairly quick were these. So we signed Giorgio Mamaradashvili, a Georgian goalkeeper who we had to loan out straight away to PSV because he didn't get his work permit. This was basically just because he came up in a scout report, and I thought, you know what, in a couple of years he can be a backup goalie. We can forget about him. He's got plenty of potential in FM22. I do know that for a fact. So we'll let him do a little job out at PSV, try and get a work permit, and we'll think about him in a couple years' time, I'm sure. We then signed James Ward-Prowse for £36 million from Southampton, who had been relegated, so we were able to get him at a cut price. But if anyone watched my Newcastle series, you know how much I love James Ward-Prowse on Football Manager. Genuinely amazing. Like, he's probably one of the best players you could use in Football Manager, and he's just chilling at Southampton in a relegated team. I couldn't pass up the opportunity. We had to go for him. We actually went for Declan Rice first, but we couldn't get him, so we settled for James Ward-Prowse. And then you might notice we've signed another goalkeeper here in Alte Bayandir, and this is because we have lost Jordan Pickford. So he cost us £17.5 million. Bear that in mind, and is arguably a similar level of goalkeeper to Jordan Pickford, who wanted to leave the club. Brighton came in for £24 million. He wanted to go. I said, go on then, get out of here, Jordan. He was fairly old as well, at 29 years old. So we let him go, bought in Alte, saved a good £5, £6, £7 million on him, got a Turkish starting goalkeeper who still has potential to grow, and I think is better than Jordan Pickford as a player to have. We also got rid of Tom Davis, who has joined Bordeaux for £4.5 million, but the business didn't stop there. We kept sales going on by selling Moise Kean for £24 million. That finally went through to Juve. Damari Gray went to Nice for £18 million. So I suppose we took Atal, and then a couple of years later, we give them Damari Gray. I think that's not a bad swap at all. Gabanin, who I only noticed recently, has now gone to join Sociedad for £12.5 million. Rondon has gone to Dynamo Moscow for free, and that left a few holes in the squad that needed to be filled. So for example, Digne has been on his own at left back for a while, so we signed Emerson on a free transfer from Chelsea. I think that's good business. We then spent £15 million on Luka Ivanesic from Dinamo Zagreb. I think he's a great player. He can play all along that midfield front line, and he's got some great attributes. A 4-star player, Croatian, 24-year-old, plenty of room to grow. I think he's a great pickup, and we'll see what he can do for the club. But if you class him as a cheaper player than what we just sold in Damari Gray, I think, again, top business from us on our end. We're doing very good with our transfer business so far. But we've had our first real luxury signing in Josko Gvardiol. You could have argued that we didn't need another centre-back, but he came up. We had plenty of money left in the transfer budget. If we buy him now at 21, he's going to be worth plenty more in the future, and we did want to freshen up the age of our squad. So we bought in Gvardiol from RB Leipzig for around £40 million with instalments. Great physically, great mentally, great technically. This guy has potential to be very good for us. Again, another small centre-back, but it's fine. We'll work on that. Godfrey, Nelson and Gvardiol make a very good free options to have in them two centre-back roles. I think we've done well there. And I don't think we'll ever need to touch them centre-back roles again for another 5 or 6 years, because them two are very good together, and that has completed our signings for season 3. Can we beat Liverpool twice in the season? Can we overtake them in the league table? It's going to be a hard job, but let's see what we can do. Okay, so it's been a bit of a mixed bag season in our third season here as Everton boss, but I think firstly we've got to say we finally won some silverware. We've won the Carabao Cup, probably the one I would have least liked to have won, but at least we've got it. Who did we beat? We beat Tottenham in the final 3-1. Again, making sure Tottenham don't get a trophy there. So well done to us in that right. We then got knocked out of the quarterfinal stage yet again of the FA Cup by Manchester City. We did make it as far as the Champions League quarterfinals this year, which is great news for us. Let's have a look at what we did in the group stage. All groups, where is Everton? Here we go. We finished top of our group that featured the likes of Ajax, Porto and Leipzig. Clubs that you'd probably say we're trying to be at a similar level to right now. So the fact that we've beat all of them is very, very good. Knockout rounds, we then went to take on Atletico Madrid knocked them out. Quarterfinals was where we lost to Arsenal, but only just, and Arsenal did go all the way to the Champions League final, so they might have even go to win it. I don't know yet. The simulation stopped on May 31st, so we don't know just yet. But then it comes to the rubbish part, the Premier League, and I think it's because we were fighting on multiple fronts here, but in the Premier League we finished 5th, a good chunk of points away from the teams above us. Arsenal seem to have had a real resurgence with a Champions League final and a 4th place finish in the Premier League. We have been guaranteed Europa League football, we still didn't come close to Liverpool, still plenty of points away from them, even when they finally didn't win the league. So bit of a tough one to take that, but I think it's not a bad season to have won some silverware, got plenty far in the Champions League, but now it's the Europa League year coming up, and that's going to be a little less entertaining unless we can actually go all the way and win that, at which point that will be something good for us if we can win a European competition. We've got a real good squad now where I don't think anyone is too much of a deadwood player anymore, so I think we're doing great. Now let's see what we do in our 4th season of transfers to really just fine-tune this squad and hopefully make us a bigger threat for possibly a title push, maybe a European run to try and win this Europa League trophy. Okay, here we are, our 4th season of transfers, and it's been a pretty strange window, to be honest. It looked like it was going to be quite a quiet one, and then all of a sudden Leicester came in to buy our goalkeeper that we only just signed for £17 million. Our Turkish keeper left us to join Leicester for £31.5 million. At which point I was actually not going to accept the transfer to go away, and then I saw I could sign Onana, who is a much better player from Ajax, similar age, and I think, yeah, it's definitely an upgrade for cheaper. I took the option. We bought in Onana for Alte, so that's pretty much a straight swap. Mason Holgate left for £3.5 million to Leeds. Hadn't really played too much, so I didn't mind him going, and that meant that we needed an extra defensive player in that right back spot, which was the only place where Mason Holgate was occasionally appearing instead of Atal. So we signed Wilfried Singo. He's better than Atal, I believe. The Ivorian has featured in a few rebuilds before, and I really like him. So for £23.5 million, I think he's a pretty solid pickup for our team, and we'll see if he can improve us. Then we kept going. We signed £51 million right winger Viktor Tzanigakov. I've definitely butchered that, but the Ukrainian is a top tier player, cast as probably the best player at the club now. 4.5 star, looks very good as that inverted winger. I think he's going to do a top tier job for us on that right hand side. Very excited to see what he can do for us. But the reason we were able to sign him for so much, and the reason we kind of had to, was because we have sold Richarlison for £25 million to Real Madrid. I didn't want to do this, but we got to the transfer window, at which point I saw that Richarlison had a year left on his deal, tried to work on it, and he said, no, I'm leaving. I'm not having any of it. I'm going to move because there's interest in me. At which point I thought, I'm going to have to sell him now before we lose him on a free. Tottenham came in for £40 million. He said no to that, but he did want to sign for Real Madrid, who are only willing to offer £25 million. He's gone there. I'm sure he'll be great for them. He was good for us, but I think we've basically got the money that we needed to get from him because, like I say, £25 million, as opposed to a free transfer, we kind of had to take it for Richarlison there. So he is left in the first transfer that I'd probably say I didn't really want to do too much. Abdulkadir Amor, the Turkish winger, has left us to go to Nice as well, so he's going to be playing with Damari Gray. We took a little bit of a hit on him in terms of a £1.25 million loss, which isn't the biggest deal in the world because we got 40 games out of him in the Premier League. The problem was they were just never good games, so I thought, you know what, let's get rid of him. We can sign someone better. So pretty much for the price of Richarlison and Amor, we've signed good old Victor over here, the Ukrainian, but I think that's going to mean, and I haven't fully put this in yet, but if I'm going for the team that I'm going to use this year, I think this is likely to be Despadov is going to have to take more of a role in the team because he has developed quite nicely. He's looking like a good player for us now across the seasons that we've had him. Has done a pretty good job in terms of retrieving his numbers, even if his average match ratings aren't high. So I think this is kind of what we're going to go for. I'm just leaving it blank so that Ivanusic can come in and play in that position as well. But this is pretty much a team I'm going to try and force for the whole season to play as often as possible. I think it's our best 11. I think it's a great squad. Maybe Yadley is starting to become a weak link, but we'll see. Purely going on star rating though, it looks like we're nicely evenly spread and we've got some very good attacking talent. So we'll see how we get on with this side. Plenty of money spent again, but we're doing pretty well. The club is still developing quite nicely with good facilities all around. Finances aren't too bad either. We're now in a positive balance, even if the club does have all of this debt that they did originally have when I took over. That's going to take far too long to clear if we're trying to actually make this club do something, win something. We're going to need to spend money. So let's see how we get on in our 4th season here. 1 season left after this. Can we win something important? Can we do something worthwhile in our 4th season as Everton boss? Okay, here we are, the end of our 4th season, and I actually think I might end the video here. I think this is a pretty good season to finish on. I don't expect us to be able to top this in the 5th season. So what have we done? Well, not only did we get back in a Champions League space in the Premier League, yes, if we kept going, we might eventually be able to take over these big clubs, but I think the gap right now is far too big, and it's not going to be patched by a manager who holidays every single match the way that I have to in these rebuilds and let the assistant manager take over. I think you need a lot more hands-on management to actually be able to topple these clubs, in most cases at least. Particularly with the Premier League being as competitive as it is, these clubs are always sweeping up players just at the same time that we are, arguably better players as well. So they're only developing as quick as we are as well. So it's going to be very hard to ever get above them in the Premier League without some hands-on management. Cup competitions we didn't do too great in, a semi-final of a Carabao Cup, but finally, we won some major silverware. The Carabao Cup was great. Champions League finishes for Everton is great. A third place finish is great, but I think this tops the lot. We have won the Europa League, beaten Leicester 1-1 in the final, and I think that's pretty much as good as we're going to get. I don't expect us to do anything else in the 5th season, so I think I'll end it here after 4 seasons, but don't go just yet. We've got a few things to look into, and I'm actually going to have a look at this match in the in-game engine, so we'll see the goal scorers, see how the game went, and see what happened to us. But so far, looks like we did very good in this Europa League run. Let's go down to see where we were. We had a pretty easy group, came out of it. It looks like we skipped the first knockout round and went straight to the second knockout round where we beat Lazio 5-0 on aggregate, which is a great result. Quarterfinals, we then took out Benfica in a 3-2 win on aggregate, which looks like it was quite a lucky one. We then took out Wolves 5-1 in the semi-final where Leicester just got past Villarreal in penalties. So we might have thought that we were going to lose in penalties against Leicester, but we managed to scrape by. Calvert-Lewin was a top goal scorer, James Ward-Prowse with the most assists, Singo playing great for us at right back. I think it was a great season for us overall to be able to win that and get back into European competition places. So before we do wrap up the video and watch the goals from this match, in the 4 seasons here at Everton, we've managed to win a Carabao Cup, win a Europa League, get to a quarter-final of the Champions League, qualify for European football every year, and only one of them years wasn't Champions League football. I think if you offered any Everton fan this in 10 years' time, never mind 5 years' time, they'd probably bite your hands off in the current state the club is in. So I think we've done awesome, but let's finish it off by watching this game against Leicester, and we'll see how we ended up winning the Europa League in our 4th season here as Everton manager. Okay, so the team that was fielded for the final was Calvert-Lewin, Ivanusic, Despadov, Adley, Ward-Prowse, Kamara, Atal, Gvardiol, Godfrey, Digne and Onana against a pretty strong Leicester team featuring our ex-player Alte. They've got Maximan, Pereira, Fofana, Tielemans, Maddison, Barnes, Soyuncu, Zinchenko. Okay, so let's take a look at the goals. I think this is only going to show the goals, so I will mention that it looked like Digne got sent off in extra time according to the match stats, but I don't think we'll get to see that here. That is Daka scoring after only 6 minutes, right past Onana. We probably thought we were going to struggle from there, but we managed to get an equaliser with a Despadov header from a Ward-Prowse corner. Great to see 2 of our signings combining there, and then Despadov looked like he finished off the penalty shootout to win us the Europa League. Oh no, he didn't. We're about to see every single penalty, are we? Maddison stepped up, it was 1-1. Then we had Ivanusic. Was it just a simple 5-4 win or something like that? I don't know what the actual penalty scores were, so we'll keep an eye here. But Onana makes a save in the second penalty there, so that was great news for us. And then it looks like, by the looks of what I can see at the top of the screen here, we must have scored every penalty from that point. I don't know who got the final one. We're about to see who won it for us. Here's Grilic getting us a goal to make it 4-3 overall, and then Ricardo Pereira came in, who scored the winning penalty for us. Tell us it was one of my players. Okay, for some reason it's not showing me the final penalty, but it looks like it was Yusuf Atal who scored the final penalty for us. So it looks like every single goal scorer in that penalty shootout was a player that we brought to the club. So that was nice to see, but then again, I think that's all we've got left now, players that we brought to the club. It's pretty much been completely changed around. If we look at all the players that we do have, these are all new other than Godfrey. If we keep going, who is actually here in real life? Virginia, I assume he is in real life because I don't remember signing him. Yeah, he's actually there. Is that it? Decore, Digne, Branthwaite, Anthony Gordon. But the majority of the players we use in the first team squad at least were new signings. I think we've done a very good job of rebuilding Everton. And overall, have we left the club in a terrible state? Maybe. The overall balance has taken a little bit of a hit, but we do have £70 million in transfer budget. So clearly the board isn't too bothered about it right now and just want to keep the success going. So I think overall we've done a great job here at Everton. Let me know what you thought of the rebuild down below. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel for more, and thank you all for watching and for supporting everything we do on the channel at the minute. So thank you guys, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.